rush. And the last thing we want to hear is, you'll be in and out. This is not a Jiffy Lube, okay? This is complicated surgery on a very small body that you need to be very careful and take your time and do it right. I'm again just baffled and blown away by the things that I hear from other parents. And even more than once, where are you finding these surgeons and say things like this? I don't get it.
If I knew that I wouldn't get in trouble with the surgeon, I would totally name drop.
Oh,
But,
goodness.
I'm not trying to get in too
No.
much trouble. But it's absolutely mind-boggling the amount of surgeons that really just think it's okay to say what they want to say, or, think that we're going to take the information well. Something else as far as bedside manner is also the nurses. I couldn't tell you the amount of nurses that I've probably almost squared up with because they just, think it's okay to say certain things or do certain things. And I understand we're all human. There's times where they've been just so careless with Caleb. And I'm like, if you just took 2 to 3 more seconds of your time, it could have been done properly, such as accessing his port. Sometimes they miss. And usually it's just when they're in a rush. And, he's not even 18 months old yet. And they'll just sit there and keep trying to get the needle in the port. And I'm like, do you guys stop to think that, first of all, you're traumatizing him. Second of all, he's gone through enough. And I'm not a nurse, but I have seen enough nurses to know that if you just take your time and do things a little more carefully, things can get done correctly to where, the patient's happy, the parents are happy, and you just don't create more lifelong trauma that these kids have to go through. I don't even know, what half of these kids have gone through. But if it's anything like Caleb, I just can't even imagine being a toddler, being a young child, or even a teen, experiencing this and having feelings towards it. One of the things I said after Caleb's surgery is, I'm glad that he can't understand what's happening, because I don't know how he would feel had he known that his surgery went wrong. And, not only just hearing that, but trying to process his new normal with, hormones and stuff. It's life-changing. And, sadly, it's something that Caleb will know no better than, since this is his entire life, since he's so small. But at the same time, I just can't imagine knowing better and having to survive this type of situation.
Yeah, the kids in general, and obviously 18 months is very young, but these kids in general, I think, understand a lot more than we give them credit for. But at the same time, they are just kids, and so that the bedside manner is such a huge thing. And we were lucky. We had pretty much, the nurses and everything that we dealt with across a couple hospitals were generally okay. I know that there were several, especially when I was in the hospital with our daughter, I said, you're not allowed in here anymore because your attitude sucks. And that's not okay. You chose to work in a children's hospital. I didn't tell you to do that. You chose it. And so that you're not welcome here anymore. And there was a doctor, 2 doctors actually, that were no longer welcome anymore. Just, when you're coming in, not only with a child, not only with a young child that is going through, they're scared, right? They're, sometimes you're not in the room, so they're alone. They're going through all these emotions that they can't explain. And then you've got vulnerable parents, and you're coming in with just shitty attitudes. You had a bad day or whatever. I don't care. And also, what is with everybody being in a hurry? You know what I mean? When you're in that room, when you have a doctor's appointment, when there's a nurse in the room, you are their only patient at that moment, period. Whatever you have to do in the next 10 minutes, I don't care, because you're here now. So you getting in a rush that's on you, and that's not going to happen. When this, accessing ports, those needles are huge, guys. If you've never seen one of these needles going in through a port, it looks really simple. It looks fun on a diagram, but it's going through their skin over and over and over again. And although they put numbing cream on there and stuff like that and whatever, it's still poking you every single time going through it. And to see it, to understand it is as a parent, I couldn't, that kind of stuff to imagine having it happening all the time. But as a child, someone's coming at you with a needle, and all you know is that they're hurting you every time they come in, and you associate it with these people that are hurting you every time. And it's unreal the amount of times that there's lack of understanding about how certain things work. Why, as parents that are not nurses or doctors, are directing people about how they should be doing things that they should know how to do. It's really is a scary world, and it really is a scary time for a parent going through this with a kid. It's not a knock on doctors and nurses and those types of people. It's a knock on just the general community not understanding or empathizing or sympathizing with these kids, that they're not adults. They're not tiny adults. These are children, and they don't understand to the full extent that we do why this is happening to them. You just have got to, you got to be good people to the parents, but you got to be sympathetic to these children and treat them, honestly, with respect, because they've earned it going through all this. But again, over and over again, just talk about this stuff for hours, because I don't understand how I can continue to hear it over and over. It's mind-boggling.
I agree, especially for children. It's hard just to have people seeming as if they have somewhere else to be, instead of in that room caring for your child.
No, yeah, it's something I don't get, and I'll never understand. But to the true people that do it every day, and you see them every day, and you actually enjoy them being around, and your kids may even enjoy them being around, thank you for being you. Thank you for being medical professionals that take your job seriously, and honestly, that maybe sometimes take it home, because these people become more than a patient number to you. So that is we appreciate that more than I think we can express at that moment, or even ever be able to express what you've done. True heroes to us, child life specialists. Holy hell, I don't know how you do it or how they do it, but they're incredible people, and they make the hospital not suck as much. And it's an incredible thing to have people like that there that have dedicated their lives to what these kids are going through, and knowing that they just need to be treated, maybe you do treat them like adults in a sense that they've earned that respect, but you also you treat them as kids, because that's what they are, and they understand that, and it's amazing.
Child life specialists, I love that their job is to be a friend to these children. I think that is like the greatest thing I've ever found in a hospital, probably, is our child life specialist, outside of our social worker. Our social worker is also really great. I love her. But just, a child life specialist, if you need them, they're there. If your child's upset, they're so quick to try to make them feel better. They can get to their level and understand them, and they're just really great. And we've had a lot of nurses too, and doctors who have just been phenomenal. And because of the people who really care and who do their job phenomenally, it really makes such a difference, and it's just really what we hold on to when we're in the hospital, is just making sure that we have the greatest nurse, at night, the best nurse to access his port, or I don't know how many nurses or just employees of the hospital realize that the attitude that they have means everything, especially to, us. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's undeniable what a simple smile can do, and what your attitude can do for the families that are going through this, for the families that are showing up for chemo, or showing up for surgeries, or showing up for, aftercare, doctor visits, anything like that. Hell, even the person that is directing you in the parking lot, if their attitude is great, it is going to make your experience so much better. And there's no reason to not be a good human. I know the world is on fire right now. I know everybody's mad at everybody about something. It's all political and dumb. Who cares about all that stuff? We're all still human, and we just have to be good people. That's the whole point of this. It doesn't matter who you like, who you don't like. Just be good people. And especially when it comes to these children that are battling this disease, these children that never asked for any of this, but yet they do it with a damn smile on their face. I don't understand it. It's the genuine heart. It's the innocence that they have, but they do it with a smile. let that be infectious to you. Let that be infectious to what you're doing and how your day is going. Don't let stupid little stuff, family tussles, road rage, all that. Don't let any of that stuff, change who you are. Just forget about it all and just let these kids' innocence be infectious to you, because it truly will give you a perspective on life, like I said, that will make everything so much greater, so much brighter. There's no reason to be a bad person. And that's apparent in the world, but it's apparent in this community. We're vulnerable people. Our children are vulnerable going through this. What we need is love and support. We don't need bad attitudes. And if you've got a bad attitude, it's probably not the profession for you.
That's right.
So it's a hard truth. I'm sorry. I know you were in school for a long time, but if you can't be a good person in this and try to make it less shitty for us, it's probably not the place you need to be.
Yes. And, even extending past the hospital. Thankfully, Caleb isn't school age, but his sister is. And, I wish that there was a lot more support in the school systems, not only for siblings, but for children with cancer. I know myself and a couple other parents that are in the area have tried to make schools more aware of pediatric cancer and try to have them just do something to bring awareness, whether it be, the children wear gold for a day or just anything. And they've all been pretty quick to dismiss it. And, especially for my daughter, it's hard. She feels alone. She has nobody in her entire school who is going through the same thing she is. And I feel like if there was just a little more solidarity where kids spend the second majority of their time, these kids with cancer not only spend 90% of the time in the hospital, but they spend their other 5%, at school when they're not sick. It should be in a more supportive environment, especially here where it's lacking.
No, I agree 100%. And that the community support is, or even, the school support, things like that, when you reach out and try to get things to happen. And again, a lot of people, I think that it's very easy for them to turn a blind eye because it's not personally affecting them. It's not touching them in that way. But, at the same time, no matter where you are in your day, whether it's at school, whether it's at work, whether it's at Walmart, you are probably within feet or next to someone that is going through the worst time of their life, or someone that just got the worst news of their life. This, unfortunately, this disease in general is close to all of us in some way, but pediatric cancer is also close to us in more ways than we think. And I think most people that say, well, I don't know anybody with it, I don't know anybody with it, I think you'd be surprised how close you may physically be to somebody that is battling this with their child. And to turn a blind eye is just, it's really just saying that the kids aren't important enough, that they're not. And listen, I understand that they can't vote and they can't drive and they can't work and they can't, produce an income. But if we don't have these children growing up, then nobody will be doing any of those things anymore. And we're supposed to be raising our children to, be the next everything: police officers, firefighters, politicians, airline pilots, whatever. We're supposed to be raising them to be the future. And not enough people think that we should talk about it. And I don't know if it's turn a blind eye. I don't know if some of it is, if I support it, then it makes me more fearful that it could happen to me. I don't know what the dynamic is, but far too many people just, it's okay for them to just blow it off. And I wish that was different. Since we want gold to be as important or recognizable as pink is. Everybody knows what pink stands for. Everybody knows what the ribbon stands for. Hell, the entire NFL turns pink in October, and most major league sports teams do. And I've been trying for years to have it happen with pediatric cancer, and you get nowhere with it. You listen, they're great at marketing. They're great at getting it out there. They're great at raising money. And hell, I don't want anybody to have any type of cancer: breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer, pediatric cancer. I don't want anybody to have any of that. But I just wish that you understood what gold was. Because if I say, what does pink mean? I don't know that there's about 2 people on this planet that are not going to know what it means. If I ask you what gold stands for, most people don't know. And when we've tried in the past, we ran an experiment calling stores and asking them, do you have this, or would you carry this and stuff? And you get nowhere. Or How much of that stuff that you see in the stores that you think you're supporting something, do you think that money is actually going to where it's going? You have to understand that too. You have to do your research on that kind of stuff. It's a marketing thing now. I don't know how much of it goes towards research or towards finding a cure or anything like that, more than it does just going in the pocket of whatever, merchandisers out there. We want you to understand why we're here, why we fight as hard as we do, and why we want something to change. We don't want to take anything away from anybody else. Hell, I want to work together with the biggest breast cancer organization on the planet, Susan G. Komen. I want to work together with them one day because so many, especially girls, are susceptible to developing breast cancer later in life if they've had pediatric cancer because of the treatments. I want to work together with them because we're synonymous with what they're doing. Do you think that I've been able to get in touch with them and have them reach back out to me? Hell no. But it's not about us taking over. It's about knowing that when September 1st gets here, the world turns gold, just like what happens on October 1st when the world turns pink. We just want the same kind of recognition.
I know it's been brought up previously about, our feelings towards pink, especially right after, gold season for us. And it's hard. And, you do feel angry, in a way, because everywhere you go, you see pink and you're like, why can't this just be gold? It's just, I feel bad for thinking those thoughts. And, when I see pink, I just kind of, I wouldn't say roll my eyes because, our family has been affected by breast cancer as well. But it's hard to see it so much more recognized than pediatric cancer has ever been. And, just the amount of funding they may get from the items that are sold is just so huge compared to what our little children are getting. And I know they need it so much more because there is so much more to be done to develop better treatments than the treatments needed for breast cancer. It seems like we've got a much better handle on, the survivorship for those patients than for children. And so it just hurts. But, it doesn't make breast cancer any less. It just means that our children should be a lot more.
Right. No, absolutely. And that's, again, it's one of those things where, I've had conversations with people, even had arguments with people about this in the past, is that it's not about us wanting to take anything away from them or take anything away from what they do. You commend, the organizations on being able to raise that amount of awareness and money and for things like that. But we're here too. And we don't do it for the accolades. We don't do it because I want my name in lights somewhere. We do it because without it, we're not going to have a future to grow up in. This is the understanding that these children need to have the opportunity to grow up. And with the way that we're treated now as this community, and you won't find, you're not going to go out into a store down the road anywhere and you're going to find things in September that have anything to do with childhood cancer. And if you do, it's going to be very few and far between. We've been, like I said, been trying for years for that to happen. It's very difficult. But the key to all of it is getting the people that have the most influence to turn around and actually speak on our behalf. I can guarantee you, and again, I've brought this up before, I can guarantee you that there is not a politician on this planet, left, right, down the middle, whatever, that has not had children in their platform to get elected. Whether it's for school lunches, whether it's for health care, whatever, you've had kids in your platform. Where are they now? They're not anywhere to be seen within what you're doing, no matter what. I've had politicians I've worked with in the past. Where are they now? I don't know because they don't respond to emails. They don't respond to phone calls. You can go to their offices. They don't care because it's not a hot button item. Because we are force fed and told every single day that the cure rates are going up, that the treatments are better, that the funding is where it needs to be, all this, that, and the other. Well, we all know that that's bullshit because the funding is not getting better. People will tell you that the government provides most funding for pediatric cancer research. I would beg to differ that it comes from organizations that are donating this money and raising money and donating it and creating this research and creating these changes because the government is lacking in what they're doing. And then we're trying to advocate. We're out there carrying that load, trying to make things different. And at what point do you turn around and start listening to what we're saying? It's a hot button item to us because it's our kids. And most of these politicians, you have kids. You understand it could be you at any moment. It's not because we want this for you. We don't wish this upon you. I wouldn't wish this on anybody, even my worst enemy. But we need you to understand that it could be at any time, and that's why we need to fix it. And it's a shame that it is so hard to get people to listen to what we're saying.
It really is.
But now let's talk about something that makes us smile or something like that. So tell us about Caleb and how awesome he is, and just how none of this is, you know what I mean? He's just going to be a great kid no matter what. So let's talk about Caleb.
Sure. Caleb is the youngest of three. He has an older sister and a brother, and he is just the best. He is so funny. He loves to just walk around and copy Big Brother, and something he enjoys doing very much is if his brother says something, he will say the opposite just to get a rise, which is really funny hearing from an 18-month-old. He doesn't know what he's saying. He just knows that it's not what brother wants. Caleb, loves dinosaurs. If you tell him that he is Calebsaurus, he'll growl at you and, pretend he's a little dinosaur running around. He has such a personality, and he also enjoys dancing. He enjoys people. He probably enjoys people way more than he should. Is such a little ham, especially around strangers. He is just so lovable. Sadly, he doesn't do too much yet, outside of walking and talking, but, hopefully one day he'll be super outgoing and, have a lot more to say than just a few words. But he's definitely so loved. So
Yeah, it sounds like he is. And I love to hear that again. While it isn't affecting him to the point where he still has his personality, and he's getting on Big Brother's nerves, which is what they're supposed to do anyway. And that's what they're supposed to be doing. So I love to hear that, because while this can be such a detrimental thing and such a traumatic thing to a child and not understanding, there's still that innocence that allows them to just let their personality out and just be who they are, what they're supposed to be. And so that's the greatest thing that you can hear. And on a side note, it made me think of the latest commercial for Make-A-Wish for the little boy Hunter, who his wish was to be a dinosaur. So that makes me think of that. That's all he wanted to be, was a dinosaur. That makes me think of how I picture Caleb. They had him coming out of an egg, and then he was growling at everybody. And so it's funny, but that's I love the fact that there's that innocence there. Like, you could have anything in the world. That's what you want. You just want to be a dinosaur.
that's right.
You just want to give your brother a hard time, which is fantastic, because we have two older girls, and that was the same thing. It's anything I can do to annoy them, that's what I'm going to do. And that's okay. And you just love it because it's your baby brother or your baby sister. How do his siblings handle all of this?
Sure. So Caleb's brother is 2, so he doesn't have too much, to say about it, but he does know that we aren't around as much. He stays with my husband's mom while we handle all things Caleb. So as much as he kind of doesn't enjoy going over there, he does in a sense that, he gets to do all the fun things. But I know he'd much rather be at home. And so when he is home, he's kind of clingy for the first couple of days, and then he kind of, goes back into normal. His name is Kai. Goes back into normal Kai. And then big sister is 9. Her name is Alyssa. She is having a much harder time with it, only because she went from being not only an only child, but to having 2 siblings, back to back, and then the youngest one having cancer, which requires a lot more time than just having 2 younger siblings. So she's struggling in that area of just, when is it time for her? And then her other struggle is that when she is at school, she'll sometimes just feel a little emotional depending on what Caleb's going through. And there's nobody really there to help her or sympathize with her. Her friends are just like, okay. I mean, they're 9, it doesn't mean anything to them because they've not experienced it and they're children. So it's really hard for her to kind of navigate who to talk to or who she can talk to and get a response that she's seeking, and then also just kind of find her place, in a family that changed so quickly. It's hard, being through going through a developmental stage and just having your world rocked. And I can't imagine what any of my kids feel having to experience this. I know at 9 years old, I didn't know what cancer was. I don't think I really knew what any hardships were. I was 9, and, the worst thing that could happen was my teacher got onto me at school. So it's a lot to navigate, especially being a parent of children in my family, who is experiencing pediatric cancer and not having like anywhere to go to for advice. I can't talk to my mom and say, "Hey, what did you do, when I was 9 and, my younger brother had cancer," because that wasn't a situation that existed. So, we're either doing a really good job or we're really blowing it, and I won't know until they're much older.
Well, that goes in line with what I said earlier about there not being any books on the subject. You're literally writing it as you go along this journey. There's no one that's going to tell you you're doing it right or wrong. It's unfortunate, but you will, develop that you're spending more time with Caleb because you have to, and the other two, they feel that neglect, and we felt the same way, going through this. And it's not, again, they don't understand. I mean, mine are older. I have an 18-year-old and a 16-year-old, so they understood it more. And I think it hurt me more that I wasn't around because I was with her. But they understand enough to know that mom and dad and that siblings love them, and that they're not forgotten about and things like that. But later on, yeah, it made explaining and things like that of this is why we had to do this and this is why we had to do that, and maybe they'll develop the questions and things like that. But it's at the young ages it's tough because again at 9 the friends they're not comforting and things like that because they that stuff doesn't they're not understanding what's going on or what are they supposed to do, but it's good that they have a loving home, a loving family, and they're going to feel okay. And whether or not you're doing it right or wrong, only you'll be able to gauge that at the end. There's no, like I said, you're writing the book as you go right now. There's nobody that's going to be able to tell you, oh, you really screwed that one up. You really made a mistake here. Well, we're doing the best we can with the tools and with the cards we were dealt, and there's nothing more that you can really do about it. It's you kind of, much like these treatments for these kids, a lot of it is throwing darts at a board and seeing what sticks and hoping for the best.
It's hard having 3 young children and just hoping they'll love me at the end of this. It's something that crosses my mind a lot. I'm like, I don't want Caleb to despise me for, his adrenal gland being missing or the fact that, something could happen in the future based on the fact that we gave him chemo. I don't want him to just hate me for those things. And it's really hard to say because he's so young. He can't tell me no. I'm doing what I think is best with my knowledge and budget. And, with my other kids, it's just praying for the best. And I just hope that they all love me.
I think that honestly, it's the only thing that you can do. I don't think there's any doubt in my mind or in the world at all that they love you now and they will continue to. And at the end, they'll, especially Caleb, will just say thank you for being there and helping me when I couldn't help myself, essentially at a baby at 18 months old. There's questions and there's what ifs and there's regrets and all that kind of stuff, and that's just, unfortunately, that's part of the unfortunate side effects of going through this as a parent, as an adult, and having to make those choices and hoping that they're the right ones. And there could be a book out there, there could be 100 of them, but every single child is different. Every single situation is different. Child that has neuroblastoma is not treated exactly the same because they're not the same people. And so you have to make the decisions with what the options and information you're given. And as long as you feel right in your heart that you're doing it, I don't think that that they'll ever question you. You'll question yourself just because, again, it's the way we're wired to wonder if we did something wrong, if it's our fault. I still question that, even though I know it's not true, but that's just the way that we're built. But we just hope that, we can continue to move forward. I definitely hope that we continue to hear more success stories about Caleb. And you know what? So he's missing a gland. He'll just have to find a way to work it into his acceptance speech, in college or something like that. It's you just have to find a way to deal with it, and that's not meant to be a jerky thing to say. You find a way to work it into your life, and it becomes who you are. But at the same time, this isn't supposed to define you. So,
That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping he'll just kind of overcome all odds and be great and, do great things. I guess touching also on like how my other kids handle everything. Something that we've been doing, especially with this recent diagnosis, is kind of, taking more time with them. So, when Caleb was first diagnosed, he was still a newborn. So it was kind of hard to split away from him to do anything with our two other kids. But I found that, we took the 2-year-old to a concert recently, and, we've taken my daughter to the movies, just things that they enjoy where they can still get that one-on-one time with us. Just learning how to navigate childhood cancer as we go. It does get easier. I know it just kind of feels abysmal most of the time, but you also learn how to navigate it a little better here and there as the journey goes. And, I guess there are silver linings, even, when things just look so grim.
Yeah, you can always find those silver linings. And I think the biggest one for us, and the biggest one has always been, this is a community, this is a family that nobody wants to be a part of. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, this is a group of people that I want to be involved with. But once you are part of this community, part of this family, I will go scorched earth for any single family, any warrior out there right now, because you are all part of a bigger group. You're part of a community that is stronger than anyone I've ever been a part of. We will move forward. We will make changes. We will continue to support each other because that's what we need to do. Our kids need that support. They need the voice. They need action. They need advocacy. They need all of that. We will work together to make sure that all that happens and that all of our children get everything that they need and they're treated the way that they should be, with the respect that they deserve and the respect of understanding that they are our future percent. They're the ones that are supposed to be taking care of us. Listen, we joke all the time that I want our kids to put us in the best home that money will buy at some point in our life. I don't want to be put in a hole in the wall. And so if we don't take care of our kids now and allow them to be the future, that's what's going to happen. We want them to give us the best, and we want to be there for them so that they can be there for us later.
It's the goal.
Yep. So at this time, at the end, I usually like to ask if you have any advice that you would share with the rest of the community, with anybody that's listening, with anybody where I post this, just advice to parents, advice to families, hell, even advice to doctors, anything that you have, because we all learn a little bit of wisdom along the way with this and things that other people would benefit greatly from if they would have known before a diagnosis happened.
Sure. My advice to doctors would definitely be to just slow down, take your time with all of your little patients who really need you and your best. And for parents, I would say that, there are times where it's just so tough, but there are also times where it's so great, and you'll just have moments of pure bliss even in the midst of everything going on. And you need to just try to find those moments also. And, things aren't going your way, just, take your kids and just go off on an adventure. That's something that we found to really help. Or, we're going to Cincinnati to have another surgery, and we're going to just make the best of it and, try to go to the zoo. And you just have to kind of find those moments where you can. And it really makes such a huge difference than, sitting there and wondering why it's you and your child. And just also know that if you feel alone, you're not. you've got a whole community. You just have to find them sometimes, but they're all there. And, they're there and they'll welcome you with open arms. And, once you find that community, things just get so much better.
Yep. It's so true. And I love the making everything, or make adventures or create adventures and things like that. I know this is not a fun road. It's not a fun journey to be on, but if you can make things fun, if you can make them happy, if you can, a road trip to the hospital to whatever, or a plane ride to the hospital doesn't have to be all bad, doesn't have to be all fear. It can be, let's make an adventure out of that. And I love it, because you know what, this life is an adventure no matter what, but it really is what you make of it. And no matter what cards were dealt, you've got to be able to, really kind of find a way to play them to your best advantage. So, and also, I would say something that we still to this day are really trying to figure out, or try to let ourselves do, is don't be afraid to ask for help. But don't be afraid. It's okay. It doesn't show weakness. As a matter of fact, I think it shows strength for you to be able to ask for help when you feel like you have to be that provider, or that rock all the time. It's okay to not be.
Yes, there are so many resources and people waiting for you to ask them for help. So, don't be afraid to ask, because they're just waiting for you to ask them.
Right. And a lot of people, I think more people are not offering, they're waiting for it to be asked for. So, don't be afraid to reach out and ask somebody. And everybody is really more than willing, from our experience, to just to drop everything and be there for you, even if it's just to talk.
Absolutely.
So is there anything else that you would like to share that maybe I missed or I glossed over, because I do tend to ramble sometimes?
I know I do too. I don't think so. I think that was everything.
Okay, well, it was great having a conversation with you, and I love hearing about Caleb, and I can't wait to see the accomplishments and everything that he's going to do, and nothing is going to slow him down. It doesn't sound like anything is slowing him down, and I hope it continues like that. And I wish that we could just, we could talk to all the kids and say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be happy. It's okay to, talk with what's going on. But at the same time, it's okay to just not talk about it if you don't feel like it. Kids will react in their own ways. But I am definitely hopeful that, that your siblings will, the brother and sister will kind of learn it as they go, and be okay with asking questions, and getting all the advice and information that they need to really kind of move forward with it. But for right now, they just need to be big brother and big sister, and that's the best job that they can have in the world. And I think it's the most rewarding one for them. So I hope that they continue to smile and be happy, and my best to everybody. And we hope that Caleb continues to thrive, and just shows us what this world truly needs to be about.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely. So I will see everybody else next week, and thank you for being with me today.
Yes, thank you so much.
Absolutely.